Today we're talking about audio basics from chapter 6. We're going to talk about a few different types of mics: the condenser mic, dynamic mic, the ribbon mic. We'll also talk about the boundary mic, the parabolic mic, and pop filters. I wanted to talk about audio because audio is such an overlooked component of video production. A lot of students focus on their video, but they fail to realize that the audio is so important. If you fail to record audio by not turning on your microphone, or if you get there and your audio is too low, how to bring it up, what dBs your audio level should be on, and making sure that your audio is not too hot. Now, what do I mean when I say your audio is too hot? When you're editing on your video software, or if you're just watching TV and you notice that it sounds distorted, almost like somebody has their hand over their mouth like this, and it's really loud, more than likely the audio was recorded too hot, or like a lot of students, when you go back and edit, you raise that line on your audio or on your video clip, and you raise it to like 12 dBs. And then you see like a little red line across your audio. That means that your audio is too hot. So you have to pay attention to not only just your video, but you got to pay attention to the audio levels going out, which is why it's so important to make sure that you have your audio meters activated so that you can see when you're peaking in the red. Now you may notice this little audio meter right here over my shoulder. Notice how they're hitting around 0 dBs. That's where you want to see your audio meters hit. It should not be in the red. You should not see a lot of red when those meters are moving. If you're hitting around 0, you're doing pretty good. So always make sure you watch those audio meters. Now, audio is very important for getting your messages across in film and television. It serves one or more functions. You can have voice tracks, music and sound effects, environmental sound, and room tones, all of which we'll talk about in just a second. But sound can make or break a production, so sound is very important. So a voice track is basically on-camera narration, or you can be off camera and is known as a voiceover or a VO. Primary means of getting a message to the viewer's ears is through the voice track. Remember, I was talking earlier about how music and sound effects can really enhance a production. It sets the mood. It enhances action and emotion of scenes. You obtain sound effects by your production team. They can be created by them using GarageBand. They can be purchased on tape, CD, or DVD, or you can download sound effects from the internet using soundbible.com as well as other internet resources. Then there's something called environmental sound, which is natural sound or background sound. Natural sound is also known as nat sound. Complete silence is artificial and should very rarely be used in a TV program. Every location has a certain natural sound, no matter where you are. For example, if you're in a classroom, the natural sounds that you would hear is paper rustling or pens tapping on the desk, or you may hear the faint sound of movement in the hallway. Every room that you're in has some kind of natural sound. Now, don't forget, when you're referring to natural sound, it should not be distracting and it should not overpower whoever is speaking in your video. It's often the most important sound in a shot. Now, room tone is the sound present in a room before it's occupied by people. The sound of silence, when recorded without people in the room, can be used to cover those unwanted sounds in the background when you're editing. Now, when professionals go out and film, once they have all their equipment set up and they're ready to go, they clear the room and they record that sound of silence or that room tone. And it's very important for them because if they have filmed everything that they needed to film with their talent, once they get back into edit, if they notice that they have some unwanted sound, they're able to use that sound of silence or room tone that they recorded and cut out those unwanted sounds. So for professionals, that's why they do that. They clear the room, record the sound of silence or the room tone as it's called. And that way, once they go back and listen to their footage, if they have any sound that they don't need in there, they can edit it out and put that natural sound, and that it will be balanced with what they have in their recording. Sounds are generally divided into 3 groups. Low frequency, which are things like bass guitars, bass drums, or tubas. Then you have the mid-range sound frequency, instruments like trumpets, clarinets, French horns, and even the human voice is generally in that mid-range area. And last, you have your high frequency sound, created by flutes, piccolos, and soprano vocalists. Microphones. Sound waves in the air hit a thin surface called the generating element within the microphone. And the generating element is a diaphragm that's a very fragile part of the mic and that's easily damaged. Now that sound wave vibration moves a tiny wire back and forth through the magnetic field, creating an electric signal. The signal is sent through the mic cable to an amp or recorder. So now let's talk about the different kinds of mics. You have a wireless mic. It has a short cable that runs from the mic to the transmitter. And this allows freedom of movement. So you may see something like this at a church or at a concert. Somebody's holding a microphone that's not plugged into a cable. And this allows them to move around freely. The dynamic mic is very rugged, is used for speech. It falls within that mid-range sound and is best for the normal speaking voice. It's not designed to mic instruments or accompanying vocals. Using this type of mic that picks up mid-range sounds to mic musical instruments or singing stage performers would result in music with poor sound quality and reproduction. The condenser mic needs an external power source or something like a battery. And this has a greater range of sound frequency. They're also known as electret condenser mics. Moving on to the ribbon mic. This is extremely high in quality and cost. It's found in a lot of radio stations and recording studios, and there's something called pop filters that they use with those. The ribbon mic is the most expensive of all mics used in television. Now, if you pay attention to late night talk shows, you'll see these microphones sitting on the desks. Shows like David Letterman, he used to have one sitting on his desk. Now back to this pop filter that I was just talking about. For this recording, I'm using my handy dandy Snowball mic. But those ribbon microphones, they have, as well as other microphones, they have something called that pop filter, which is a filter that protects the mics from plosives, such as the T sound and that P sound and the D sound. So those pop filters help those sounds not go so far into that microphone. It catches the blast of moisture and air before they hit and damage the delicate diaphragm of that ribbon mic. Now, something I want you to pay attention to the next time you watch football is this microphone that you see here. First, we're going to talk about the boundary mic, though. The boundary mic is placed on the edges of an area to mic an entire space. You sit those on tables and they pick up all the sound in the room. Then you have that bottom picture, which is a parabolic reflector mic, and this is used on the sidelines at football games. So next time you're watching a football game, see if you ever can see a shot of any of the microphones that they use. I'm not sure. I don't really follow football, but just pay attention next time you watch football. They pick up the sounds from the players. You're able to hear those grunts and those crashes of the bodies because of this particular mic that you see here on the bottom. So here's a question. Why would the audio technician need to be very quick on the mute button for the input of a parabolic reflector mic pointed at the football field of a nationally televised game? I would think that your answer would be because there would probably be some profanity and some things that probably shouldn't be heard by the viewers. So those microphones are very sensitive. They can pick up the sound of those grunts and those crashes and even the sound of dialogue in between those players. So they are very sensitive mics. Pay attention next time you watch a football game. Now, microphones aren't only classified by what type of microphone they are, but they're also classified by their pickup pattern. A pickup pattern is the direction the mic hears sound from. For example, an omnidirectional mic picks up sound equally from all directions as seen in this picture. It doesn't matter what side of the microphone the sound is coming from, it's gonna pick it up. Hence the word omnidirectional. Now you have a unidirectional microphone pickup pattern, which is heart-shaped. So it picks up the sound primarily from one direction. This is also known as a directional or cardioid mic. The point of the harp is aimed at the source of the sound. Sounds from the sides or the rear of the mic are not heard as well. Now, directional mics are available in various degrees. You have the hypercardioid, which is thinner and it has a longer pickup pattern. And then you have the supercardioid, which is even longer and has a thinner pickup pattern. I know we have all heard that sound in one situation or another. It is the dreaded sound of feedback. Now, directional mics are very important when recording music. If the performer uses an omnidirectional mic and steps in front of the band's speakers, a high-pitched squeal is emitted. That squeal is called feedback, which is that sound that we just heard that we hate to hear. So how does it occur? Sound enters the microphone. Then it's transmitted to the amplifier. That signal is sent to the speaker, and then that sound goes through the air and back into the mic, which creates that feedback sound. We always talk about feedback and how it happens, but how do you stop that high-pitched squeal that we all hate to hear? So first, you move the mic away from the loudspeaker. Then you bury the mic in your armpit. You turn down the amplifier and turn the loudspeaker away from the mic because that sound is feeding through that speaker and back into the mic. Then you determine what caused the feedback and take precautions that it doesn't happen again. Now, the Fishbone microphone, which is called a boom mic, allows you to get as close to the talent as possible. It allows you to put the shotgun mic, which is attached to that fishpole boom, directly over their heads without getting the microphone into the shot. And lastly, we have the lavalier mic, also known as a lav, which is what I call it, or you can call it a clip mic. And the microphone should be outside of the clothing, not inside. It shouldn't be against the skin. It should be on the outside of the clothing, around the chest area. This is the smallest mic. So lastly, we just want to go over some do nots when it comes to microphones, because I have been guilty of some of these things, and I know you have been too, because I've seen some people do this. So 1, do not shout into the microphone. Don't slap the head of the mic with your hand if it's not working. I've seen this happen over and over again. Do not exhale or inhale directly into the mic. Do not put your lips directly on the mic because the moisture from your lips could seep into the microphone and damage what's inside. And lastly, never swing a microphone by its cord. There are delicate wires within that cable of your microphone cord that you don't want to damage by swinging it around. Lastly, never blow into the microphone. Once again, that moisture from your mouth could seep into the microphone and damage the inside. So don't ever do these things. Now, when it comes to microphones, there's a very important way that you coil those cables. Now, when you're dealing with mic cables, there is nothing worse than having a bunch of cables that are tangled like this. You never want to have tangled cables like this. So let me show you the proper way that you coil a mic cable. You take it and you wrap it around your hand like this. All of your cables should be in a circular pattern like this. That way, once they're packed away, you don't have to wrestle with trying to untangle them. And there are wires inside these cords, so it prevents the wires from getting damaged. So make sure, if you're ever working with microphone cables, that you have this circular pattern. And then once you store them together, then it's easy to just break them apart. And you can tell which one is which. Very important. So I hope you enjoyed that. Make sure you check for your work. Email me if you have any questions. Here's my email address. Make sure that you complete your assignments because they are for a grade. Make sure you stay on top of your work when you're doing your virtual days.